Are you looking to increase your design skills and productivity? From sketching, surfacing, assemblies, and everything in between, our books have you covered. Purchase a paperback or PDF version in our store today.
Hello everyone, my name is Steve Samuel from Design Visionaries, and today I have some modeling that is just fun and not serious, but the techniques that I used to create the model that you see before you, actually their techniques are really powerful, and techniques that you can use in aerospace design and medical design and automotive design and all the fancy and powerful things that we do at Design Visionaries are augmented by same techniques that I will show you today that I have so much fun with on my free time. As you can see, this is a turkey who is encouraging us all to eat vegan. He's got a vested interest in that. These are the holiday seasons. The holidays, we have lots of good food, and I think the best thing about the holidays is when we focus on friends and family and be very thankful for all the connections that we have, thankful for the ability to be creative and use powerful tools like NX and others, and just thankful for the fact that there's always hope and a lot of progress is being made, although listening to the news sometimes it doesn't feel that way. In reality, there's way more people who want a positive outcome than the opposite, so let's focus on that. So happy holidays to you. This model is the result of a lot of different operations, as you can imagine. If I bring back some of the construction geometry, you can see that I started with some pictures of turkeys, and I borrowed visual cues from them. You could see that there's a bunch of sketches and a bunch of curves that I made, and all kinds of things that were intermediate pieces of geometry that culminated in me having this little creature. He's got eyes, and he's got a little waddle here. He's got whatever this thing that turkeys have on their nose. He's got that. He's got some nice little shoes that we put on him, and pants and a shirt. So I would like to share with you some of the techniques that I used. So for example, the head. In order to make the head of this bird, I started with a sphere. And with the sphere, you can go into X form. And when you select a sphere, as you can see, it gives you a lot of nodes, and there's too many. So when I did the turkey, I reduced the number of patches in both directions. And once I had that reduction, I was able to then do something that made sense to the remainder of these control nodes, whatever you want to call them, and these influencers, if you will, not points. So there's a lot of ways to do this. And as you can see, there's a method switch here, and you can put it on method WCS or method view. For this particular manipulation, what I want to do is put it on method vector. And I want to make sure that there's a vector that I'm pulling. In this case, I want a vector that goes this way, that pulls it out straight this way. And so as you can see, I don't really have that vector. So in order to proceed, I'm going to first create a sketch on this plane here. And I'm going to flip it like this and know that it's going to end up like that. So the vector that I'm trying to create looks like this. Looks like a line segment that goes out there. There's my vector. Okay? So on this little line segment, I'm going to put a vector, an actual vector. And oh, by the way, since I work in an environment with a lot of really intelligent people, there was a person here, a very important person to my life, who handed me a note. And what I now know is this little piece of thing hanging off the turkey's beak is a snood. Isn't that a wonderful word, a snood? I had heard that. I just didn't remember. So there you go. The turkey has a snood. Okay, going back to the surface manipulation X form, I select the piece of geometry that I want to change. And now I go to the vector method. So I'm going to say vector. I'm going to select that vector there. I'm going to select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nodes here with a box. Oh, let's see. I'm going to start clicking on them. Hold my finger on the Control key and get the ones that I want. They're all now selected. Now I can pull them like that. So that's nice. It's a nice way of going. So that's the start of it in order to make the bird's head. Then I'm going to say apply. The reason why I'm saying apply is because I want to cast that change into concrete. And now the next change I want to do is to pull these sides in both directions. And so I'm going to specify a different vector. In this case, it's going to be this vector, that one there. And now I'm going to push this in like this, push this in like this, and I am working in a way that can be described as by eye. There we go. So it's not perfect. And I'm making it more like a beak. So there we go. So as you can see, it's looking more and more like a bird's head. Now what I'd like to do is take this and give it a curve. I'd like to curve it downward. So I'm going to go back to X form. And what I want to do this time is put a few more nodes in that will be stationary. So I put in all of those. That's good. And I'm going to do a view move. And I'm going to grab all of these nodes and I'm going to pull them down like this. So as you can see, now I'm actually tilting the nose down. And so now I've got a very interesting shape that I think we could all say would be very, very difficult if I only had curves and surfaces in which to, by which to create this shape. Cool. So now I want to take out, I want to do a mouth opening, and I'm going to do that with a simple extrude. And that extrude is going to be on a plane that is right in the middle of the turkey. And I'm going to use an arc. I'm going to start the arc right there. And I'm going to bow it like this. I'm going to hold my finger on the Alt key so that the arc that I'm making doesn't pick up any other geometry that I may not want. And then I'm going to start on the back of that arc and make another arc that looks like this. Again, I'm holding my finger on the Alt key, so it won't automatically assume a tangency. In this case, I don't want it to be tangent. I've got two arcs, and then I'm going to put a little line segment in between the two of them. And I'm going to extrude that out with a symmetric extrusion and a subtract. Well, there you have it. Okay. The next thing is to create the actual eyes of this thing. So I'm going to go to the curve function, and I'm going to go to the point function and point on face. And I'm going to select a location for the eyes that just is something that I artistically decide will be appropriate, like that. There's an eye. And of course, I'd like to put a sphere at that location. But if I put a sphere at that location and the sphere is at center, is centered right there, it will bow out too much. I would rather have a sphere whose center is subcutaneous to this shape. And you really should never blow the chance to use the word subcutaneous when you have it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select that little point entity, and I'm going to select the normal function and select that face. And now I have a line segment that is normal to the face at that point location. And what I can now do is take the end of that line and bring it in. So I'm going to go to rendering style static wireframe so I can see what I'm doing here. And so I want it in that much for a sphere that will be, I want the sphere to be about this big, but I want it to be centered here, not on the surface. So that's going to be good. So now I can put a sphere, if I go to Home, More, Sphere, and I could use the end of that line as a center for the sphere. And I can now mess around with the diameter of the sphere to see what I would like. So I'm kind of trial and erroring it. So that's 0.75. And so there's a sphere that's got a good diameter, but it sticks out maybe a little bit too much. So what I can do is just go to the line segment and pull it in a little bit more. And that's better. So that's a big old sphere whose center is inside or subcutaneous to the rest of the head. And of course, now I can mirror geometry about the center plane. That. Now I've got two of them. Fantastic. And now I can unite them together. Like that. Give them a more advantageous color for a turkey. How about this color here? What is that? Pale orange. Pale orange turkey. Nice. And moving right along. I want to give the turkey a neck. Turkey neck. And so I'm going to grab a plane. Looks like that. And I'm going to make a neck. Now, in order to make a neck, I want it to smoothly flow into the head, and I want it to have a bit of an S shape. And so, in order to do that, in order to get the neck to go into the head smoothly, I would like to do a intersection curve with this surface here. And now this curve right here is giving me an ability to fair in the rest of the neck. So that's an intersection curve. And now I'm going to go to the spline, I think. And I'm going to select the location there. And I'm going to do some nice freestyle modeling. Like that. There. And that's going to be how I make the neck. Oh, I forgot to make tangent. What I want here is for this curve and this curve to be tangent, the tangency. And so the neck's going to flow smoothly into the cranium. And I do want to take this and maybe go a little like this, a little bit more. There we go. All right. Now that I have that, I can go to the sketch and I can switch to sketch on path. I can select that path and move it down like this and double click on the Z so that I could see where my sketch is going to be created, looking into the bottom of the head, and say OK. And then I'm going to insert a curve ellipse. And I'm going to put the ellipse right here. In order to do that, I'm selecting a location, a center point location, and wondering why this is only going so far. Oh, no, that was interesting. So I'm making my ellipse. Here we go. I'm turning it this way. Like that. And I'm making it a little bit more neck-like, for lack of a better term. Say okay. And I'm going to put a point on curve constraint between that and that, so it'll move the whole thing over. Good. And now I'm ready to make a neck. The neck is a swept feature. In the surface mode, we get swept. And the very first thing we do is select the section that we intend on sweeping. We select the guide curve. We might as well use an orientation of fixed. And of course, the scaling law is going to be a perimeter law, and it's going to be linear. And it's going to start It's going to start at 5.5 and go all the way up to 1. Looks pretty good. Maybe this is too narrow. So I'm going to put maybe a dimension on it from there to there. And it got fatter, which I did not intend. I'm going to go from here to here. And that was odd. And limit it to 1.25. Okay, and this one maybe can be a little smaller as well. Okay, and let's see what that happens, what that does. Now that looks a little better to me. There we go. And so I'm going to unite it all together. And I'm going to give it a nice, generous blend. And there's basically the turkey head and neck. So these are very powerful techniques. And the other technique that I'm using to do this model here is assemblies and components. So as you can see, the sneakers are both components. Okay. So there's a sneaker. And if you look at all the entities that were required to make this sneaker what it is now, there's actually a lot going on. But what it all started with was a sketch that had a circle and another circle and all these tangent curves. That's how it started. And then there were more sketches. This is what outlines the back of the shoe and the front of the shoe. And then there was a lot of help with points that we created that made things made it able to line things up. Okay. So then we did other curves that look like this. As well open up. There. So there's all the other curves that I used. to try to get a smooth surface that goes around here on his tangent in the front. Not easy. As you can see, I did some surface work, and I mirrored it, and I sealed it up, and I sewed it, and I hollowed it out, and then I did a number of manipulations on these pseudo laces and the sole, and lots of unanswered questions. But you can easily make a shoe or a bird. What powerful software. Okay. Now, I so wish that you were here. If you had questions, you can ask me them. But certainly, you can send your questions to info@designvisionaries.com or designviz.com, and we will try to get you answers in a timely fashion. We have a huge passion for all of this. As you can see, we have fun. We do incredibly complex aerospace components, automotive, medical. But sometimes you just have to have fun with the system, and so that's what it's all about. I hope you've enjoyed my little tutorial and I hope you continually enjoy some of the techniques that we've used. And until next time, thank you very much for listening. Please like and subscribe. Take care.